The ICJ has asked India to submit its plea by September and asked Pakistan to file its reply by December this year. Barclay informed that Pakistan Attorney General Ashtar Asif Ali had reportedly said ICJ's registrar informed his country about the latest development through its consulate in the Netherlands. Earlier, delegations from both Pakistan and India met with the ICJ president on June 8th to discuss the timeline of Jadhav's case. Kubhushan Jadhav was 45, sentenced to death by Pakistani military court in April on alleged spying charges. Now, Pakistan claims its security forces arrested Jadhav from his restive Balochistan province in 2016 after he reportedly entered from Iran. However, India maintains that he was kidnapped from Iran, where he had business interests after retiring from the Navy. Pakistan had repeatedly rejected India's request to grant consular access to Jadhav. Even at the ICJ hearing on May 10th, the 10-member bench restrained Pakistan from carrying out execution of Jadhav after India approached the International Court of Justice. And to discuss more on this, we have Stephanie, who's a senior journalist, joining us from London, and now, of course, our correspondent Raghavendra Rao also joining us on the broadcast. Coming to you first, Raghavendra. Now, India has now rebutted back and said that Pakistan's claims are in fact false. They've never asked for any delay.
Well, that's correct, Jessica. And Gopal Bagle, the spokesperson for the Ministry of External Affairs, has made it amply clear that India, when both the agents of India and Pakistan met with the ICJ president on June 8th, it was India which made it amply clear there that India would want to expedite the proceedings and had in fact sought a 4-month timeline for submission to make its next submission. And if those 4 months were to be counted from now, so it would roughly translate to be somewhere around September. That is precisely what the ICJ has asked India to do. September 13th has been fixed as the date where India will submit its memorial. That's the terminology which they use for a submission. So the Indian submission in the case will be filed on the 13th of September, and Pakistan has been asked to file its counter memorial or counter submission by December 13th. That is the factual position, and Mr. Bagle has made it known that since India has been wanting to expedite this matter, it would want Kubhushan Jadhav to be let off from these proceedings and to return safely to India at the earliest. There is no point and there is no sense for India to try and delay these matters further.
All right, Raghavendra, do stay with us. Coming to you, Stephanie, as what my colleague Raghavendra was mentioning, that why would India in fact want to delay when India in fact wants a conviction of, in fact, release of Kubhushan Jadhav as early as possible? What do you make of Pakistan's counterclaims here?
Well, I think what we see in this case is that there's very little. The ICJ doesn't give a lot of formal notice. And what we have here is that the ICJ is trying to talk to the parties to fix a timeline for when these things are filed. They usually do that in discussion together. And it seems that it's now becoming a kind of diplomatic tit for tat, where then Pakistan says they won something because something of India was rejected. But this thing usually goes very much in discussion, and the ICJ cannot force one sovereign nation to file a certain memoriam before a certain time or after a certain time. And I think what we have seen and what the ICJ sources have told me is that in the past, whenever a party asks for more time, they always get it, because the ICJ cannot force a sovereign country to move up or move down their timeline. So my assessment of this is that if India wanted to have to file its memorial only in December, it would probably have been given that time by the court. And the fact that the court has apparently established a deadline for September, which is only what we hear from Indian sources, the court itself hasn't confirmed it yet, shows that India wants to move these proceedings forward as quickly as possible.
All right, and Raghavendra, as Stephanie is pointing out, India wants to move ahead with the proceeding as soon as possible. That's exactly what the Indian Ministry of External Affairs has also been pressing hard on.
Well, absolutely, and the urgency which the Indian side showed in the first place in taking this matter to the ICJ and securing a stay on Jadhav's execution. It has already demonstrated the seriousness with which India has taken this entire matter. The fact that there was a credible apprehension in the Indian establishment that Pakistan, having convicted Jadhav in a military court, could execute him, at an early date. That was probably the real reason why India moved very swiftly in taking this matter rather unexpectedly to the ICJ and securing a stay on his execution. Now, as the proceedings go further, India would be wanting to make its case heard and all the arguments heard at the earliest, and India would want it to be expedited, and that is exactly what the MEA spokesperson has underlined today.
Right, Raghavendra. Stephanie, coming to you, we've also heard that the European Parliament has come down heavy on Pakistan. Has said that, trials inside the military courts are really uncalled for, and given death sentence in a military court and not, and there have to be certain changes in the blasphemy laws as well. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm not an expert on the European Parliament, I must say, but there has been, obviously, there's always a lot of criticism generally on the death penalty, and especially in cases of military courts, general and international and humanitarian law. Death sentence is frowned upon, especially if court proceedings are not be able to be followed or open to the public. So this is a very obvious case where I'm not surprised that the Parliament has come down on that side. The blasphemy laws, I really can't speak to that because that's really not my area of expertise.
All right, Stephanie and Raghavendra for joining us on the broadcast and discussing this developing news at the moment.